Once upon a time, Darky was camping in the forest, probably having a really nice dream. And the sun started to rise, and he woke up to the sight of a beam of light coming through his tent. And he couldn't wait to see what was outside. I wish you saw me like you see you. I wish you saw me like you see you. And this is what he thought about. I wish you could see that I'm a person too. I wish you could see that I am hurting too. On the attack, the ignorant see meat and they see food, but I'll see them yak if it's truly the last thing that I do. And they want that back, the power to place someone under rule. But all of that's crap, all of that's crap to me. And all of that's crap. I can't see your face through all the shit you're talking to me. Let's sit down and mix perspectives up and sip that smoothie. Hate will bring you down or bring you up if you move smoothly. I may get around and act a clown, but you can't fool me. I wish you saw me like you see you. I wish you saw me like you see me, see you. I wish you saw me. I wish you saw me at all. Saw us both the same. I wish you saw me the same.
All right, you guys. This is my first episode since being out of Oregon, just moved to Texas, living in the Dallas Metroplex area now. I am no longer going to give specifics on which town I live in, as frankly it's no longer relevant. I'll still tell stories from Eugene and Springfield, but in the meantime, I'm fucking scot-free. I'm away from that hell, and now that my move's simmering down, just been reading a lot of books, trying to relax, catch up on video editing. The videos are coming along slower, admittedly, because the internet here sucks. Hopefully this isn't coming in choppy. But just been reading shit and thought that I would share this one. Got New Year's going on and was linking up with a couple old buddies, and they're wanting to do mushrooms and all that fun stuff. And I'm just sitting here like, I've sworn off mushrooms because I'm quite sure that I'm summoning demons and seeing a lot of dark shit that I don't want to see. And And so I'm just kind of taking the back seat on that one and thought I would read this as kind of a reminder to myself as to why I don't do psychedelics anymore, because I have a tendency to abuse these things. So today's selection is from Ram Dass, Be Here, Be Now, which is a fucking awesome book. For anybody who hasn't read it, you should definitely go pick up a copy. And there's a selection in the back called Psychedelics as an Upaya. Now, don't crucify me. There might be some mispronunciations along the way in here. Try my best. But without further ado, yeah, let's just get in today's reading, and it'll be a shorter one. Psychedelics is an Upaya. There are many paths that lead toward enlightenment. Some of these paths lead all the way, while others take a pilgrim only a little way. Some paths are steep and dangerous, others slow and gentle. You will notice that as you come to meet more and more pilgrims, you will find that they are attached to the particular method that they are pursuing at the moment. That attachment is because the method is giving them a return to some greater light or bliss or knowledge or sense of being than that to which they are already accustomed. In India, the trap of becoming attached or addicted to any particular method, be it pranayam or devotion or whatever, is well known. As a safeguard against this, there's a time schedule in a sadhana. The first 20 years of life are for study. The second 20 years are for worldly participation and family. The third 20 years are for religious study and the pursuit of various intense methods of sadhana. In the last 20 years, however, the sadhak forgoes all methods. He becomes a sannyasi and wanders without ties to family or temple or method, having given up all attachment. Psychedelics as an upaya at first seems to hold infinite promise, but as one works with them further, one comes to realize the possible finitiness of the method. At this point, however, the individual may have become so attached to the experience of getting high that he doesn't want to continue on his way by finding other methods. At this point, he's being dishonest with himself, conning himself. Such a tactic is a short term strategy at best and usually produces negative emotions. A man who has attained certain powers through medicines or through words or through mortification still has desires, but that man who has attained samadhi through concentration is alone free from all desires. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment, and he said to him, "Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment?" And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, "Bind him hand and foot and cast him into the outer darkness. There men will weep and gnash their teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen." It's coming from Jesus. What are psychedelics? Psychedelics are a group of chemicals which can expand consciousness. Included are such chemicals as LSD, marijuana, peyote, mescaline, psilocybin, DMT, DET, hashish. These vary in the degree to which they contain other than psychedelic components. Some have side effects of euphoria or agitation or nausea or lethargy. Is speed or amphetamines, methamphetamines, etc. psychedelic? It can be. However, it has strong side effects which ultimately are seriously detrimental to one's work. They tend to facilitate through thought loops or spinning out of old associations somewhat endlessly. In addition, speed is strongly habit forming and demands increasing dosage over time. Furthermore, speed slowly does your body in, and if you destroy the temple in which you must do work before the work is finished, you lose. How are the opium derivatives, such as heroin, morphine, etc., different from psychedelics? The opioids are truly drugs in the exact sense of the term. That is, they allow an individual to escape from an unpleasant environment, be it physical or psychological. Irrelevant. Their effect is sought by those trapped in the subtle sphere of sentiment. They are not only habit forming, but appear to be psychologically addicting. For someone who realizes that, as Buddha points out, attachment is the cause of suffering, heroin and other opioids, which are a sure trip into new attachments, hardly seem to be the path to enlightenment. What use are psychedelics in this work? The pros of psychedelics are as follows. For a person deeply attached to any finite reality, which he takes to be absolute, the psychedelics can, under proper conditions, help him to break out of the imprisoning model created by his own mind. Of course, there's a paradox here. If he wants to take a psychedelic in order to break out, he already knows of another possibility, and thus could proceed without psychedelics. If, on the other hand, he takes psychedelics for kicks, or for other reasons without seeking to know another reality, the experience may help his spiritual work. The shock might be quite dramatic. LSD is like Christ in America, which is awakening the young folk in the Kali Yuga. America is most materialistic country, therefore God has shown his avatar in the form of LSD as a material. They wanted a material for approaching God, and they got it in the form of LSD. A man who has not tasted things thinking it's true, how will he get the feeling of those things? Asked the Hari Das Baba. To to a few sincere seekers such as yourself, LSD may have served as a means to arouse that spiritual longing that has brought you into contact with the Baba, but once that purpose is served further, indigestion would not only be harmful, but have no point or purpose. This coming from an Indian correspondent. The use of psychedelics can provide experiences which in the short term strengthen your faith in the possibility of enlightenment sufficiently to pursue systematic purification, which ultimately will, of course, include giving up psychedelics. They often serve this function even though the glimpse they give may only be of a low astral plane. Carefully programmed psychedelic sessions can have significant therapeutic value in providing new perspectives for areas of strong attachment. That is, for a person who is caught, for example, in strongly learned oral or sexual habits, a psychedelic session can provide a moment of transcending these habits and thus experiencing the possibility of alternative reactions. This experience will be temporary, for you're merely overriding the desires which feed the habits in the first place. However, the experience may give leverage to your work with these strong drive areas. The deepest psychedelic experiences allow one to transcend polarities and thus go beyond fears of death or entrapments and the guilt created by attachment to the polarity of good and evil. The milder psychedelics are used by many sadhus or bhakti yoga. They smoke in order to release emotion and allow them to commune with God with open hearts. This is true of many wandering sadhus in India, and smoking is looked down upon by most temple and ashram residents in India. The cons of psychedelics are as follows. You still come down. The experience is not permanent. Coming down brings despair. Because the psychedelic agent is external to yourself, its use tends to subtly reinforce you into a feeling that you are not enough. Ultimately, of course, at the end of the path, you come to realize that you've been enough all the way along. The intensity with which the psychedelics show you more makes you greedy to what you've done before you are ready. This attaches you to the experience of getting high, which after a period of time becomes a cul-de-sac. The goal of the path is to be high, not to get high. Many people who use psychedelics primarily experience astral planes in which their ego is present. Thus, they often attempt to use the powers that are available in such an astral plane in the service of their own ego. This creates additional karma for them, for it is action which comes out of attachment. Many messianic trips are in this nature. Sometimes such individuals get stuck at one or another astral plane and lose contact with the gross physical plane. In the West, such beings are usually hospitalized until they find their way back to the physical plane. Of course, what in fact has happened is that they have not gone far enough. For the psychiatrist is attached to the physical plane, or denying the reality of all other planes, in the same way that the patient is attached to the astral plane, denying the reality of other planes, including the physical. The only true reality includes all these planes and is beyond them all at the same time. This is known as the paradox of the Mahamudra, the paradox of 2 in 1. Using violent methods as one's upaya, such strong psychedelics or kundalini yoga, severe fast, etc., lead to an unevenness in the individual's vibrations. This creates waves in the environment because the person is not quite able to keep it all together. You should be able to remember your zip code even as you drip into galactic ecstasy. Keeping it all together is hard. Psychedelics are, for the most part, illegal. This means that in order to use them, you must break the law. Breaking the law involves risk, which may create anxiety and paranoia. Anxiety and paranoia are not good states of mind in which to pursue one's sadhana. Furthermore, breaking the law means that you must function within the polarity of we and them. Only a very advanced being can do this without attachment. There is at present no conclusive evidence that psychedelics are damaging to the physiological organism. The research on chromosome damage has been largely political in nature. There may be energy depletions and subtle physiological effects not yet measured. Most of the physiological reactions are psychological in origin and usually are the result of fear or anxiety.
Psychedelics are safe if done correctly, and they're safe at doses so terrifying that you would never want to do more. The danger with psychedelics is not death, The danger is madness, obviously. These things can't kill you. I mean, it would be a terrible way to commit suicide because it wouldn't work. But what they do is they hurl you against the wall of your assumptions and then jump on you and rub your nose in it and stomp on you and make you want to die and make you beg for death. Not always, but they can do that. And so it's very important when you get in there that you can at least have the pharmacological facts under your belt so you can explain to yourself what's going on. For instance, it amazes me, I've heard this story maybe a dozen times, of people taking mushrooms, which they either grew or bought, taking mushrooms, and then an hour or 40 minutes into it, deciding, quote unquote, that these are obviously not psilocybin mushrooms, these are poisonous mushrooms, and now they're going to die. Well, that shows you just don't have your mind under control. You know, you need to have a talk with yourself about your tendency to get hysterical in tight situations, you know, because you're not dying. You have to come to the place where you can actually turn to the whining ego and say, you are dying. Me, I'm going further, but you're dying. That's right. Death, death, death. Roll in it, citizens, as the and discipline the mind, because the ego does not want you to take psychedelics. The voice which tells you not to take psychedelics is the voice of your ego. It says, look, you've got a lot to lose. You have a professional position to think of. And then if you resist and go to the next level, it plays the next days. You know you're crazy. You know that you're not like these other people. You're crazy. You should stay away from it. And then if all else fails, it plays the final ace. You're dying, stupid. You're dying. Call 911 before it's too late. And, you know, I had a friend who got into that position and who called 911. Ambulance came and they took him away, and naturally these psychedelic crises are usually fairly short-lived, so by the time he had attention in the emergency room, it was all past. And he said to the doctor, who, God bless this doctor, he must have been quite hip, the guy said to him, he said, did the mushroom cause this? And the guy said, well, I don't see how the mushroom could cause it. We see panic attack cases in here every day, and I never had one caused by a mushroom.